Welcome back to Flywheel Films. It is the middle of summer. You're probably wondering why I'm dressed in layers. Well, right behind me is Echo Lake. That is 10,500 feet elevation, so we're a hair above that now. And we are going up there. So we are going up Mount Evans, the scenic byway. It is the highest paved road in North America. I want to see if the Miata can do it. I've done it in other cars, basically Rivian SUVs, like lifted things. This has, I think, 3.5 inches of ground clearance, roughly, at my subframe braces. So will we scrape? What should you know about climbing this epic mountain out here about an hour west of Denver? So we're going to go hop in line because there are timed entry reservations. More on that in a minute. But yeah, join me and Austin, who is finally back in town, in another adventure with Flywheel Films, going where we have no idea what will happen. So going top down in true Miata fashion, we'll see how this goes. So we went up actually this morning with Max and his Polestar 2 to get some drone shots, which you are hopefully enjoying. We only made it to Summit Lake, so not really. We didn't even get to the insane part of the road, although Austin did a little bit of that and said it was rough. So we'll see how it goes giving them our pass.
You might expect some thunderstorms while you're up there.
Yeah, we better put it up in a bit. Thank you. So during the summer is really the only time Mount Evans bypass is open. Now, technically, we didn't start at the base. The official Mount Evans Scenic Byway starts down by Idaho Springs. It's a nice drive up, but like this is where the drive really starts getting interesting. We start about 500 feet below the sea level, below the tree line.
Below sea level. It's a 2-hour entry slot, and you cannot be admitted before or after. I don't believe you have to be out of Mount Evans area by the end of your time slot as a entry slot.
You just enter within that. So our slot was 2 to 4, for example. But yeah, it can take anywhere from a couple hours to, if you're really just boogieing to get to the top, you could be up and down within like an hour and a half, I think.
If we look tired or sunburnt, it's because we are.
We just did a 9.5 mile hike, kind of along the side up part of Mount Evans. And then we were like, screw this, let's go drive it.
Yeah.
But it was good. We did the Chicago Lakes Trail, so nothing to do with Chicago. The thing to know about reservations is if you arrive before 8, you don't need one, or after 6:30.
I think it's 6:30, but the park is only open from an hour before sunrise to an hour after sunset.
Yeah.
So you don't have a whole lot of time on either side of the reservation windows. But if you did want a sunrise, I would recommend it. It's a super early morning, but you don't need to pay. There's very few people up there that early, and it's very pretty.
Highly recommended. And also, you'll probably be guaranteed great weather.
One more quick note on your time to entry permits. The top section of the mountain actually closes after this weekend. It's currently Labor Day weekend. And after this weekend, they shut down the top portion of the road in preparation for the snow coming in.
Right at the edge of Summit Lake. So typically Summit Lake is the highest point. You can go, quote unquote, not in the summer. And then really all you get is fringe season around summer before even this part is closed.
Yep.
Because, again, high elevation snow. It's gorgeous. I mean, even the road getting up here, Guanella Pass is stunning. Of course, a lot of people take the Idaho Springs exit on I-70 and go up that way. Still beautiful. So here's our first major pull-off, Mount Goliath Natural Area, known for very old trees.
Very, very old trees.
In fact, there are a few trees noted by experts to be over 10,000 years old. They will not disclose the location in efforts to protect them because
people suck.
People suck.
But we are approaching the tree line.
In fact, I think we just basically passed it.
So it is a lot more exposed up here, higher winds, and the temperature starts to drop pretty quickly. So even if you're coming in the dead of summer, make sure you have at least a jacket.
Yeah.
Maybe more.
It's for context, it's 85 in Denver right now. And right now my car says 60, but at the top it's probably 40. We'll find out.
So we can actually see Echo Lake down below, and you have a absolutely stunning view.
It's clouded right now while we're filming this, and the drone shots you're seeing are this morning. Same exact road, same exact experience, more or less, just more
It's pretty sunny.
And stunning. Like, it was so gorgeous.
We caught Guanella Pass at sunrise. We were not able to catch the actual mountain at sunrise.
So if I were to do this again, I would just
Probably
go
leave like an hour earlier, yeah.
So, who wants a history lesson? Austin has us with all the facts and logic of the mountain.
Yeah, so Mount Evans has a pretty assorted pass, if you will. It is the, I believe, 12th tallest mountain in Colorado.
In Colorado, 52nd in the US, not sure about the world, but it is an elevation of 14,200 something-ish.
200-ish feet. The mountain was quote-unquote first ascended by Albert Bierstadt, who actually has another mountain named after him in
Literally,
Colorado.
the neighboring mountain to Mount Evans is Mount Bierstadt. So I guess he, what do you call it?
First ascended?
Well, there's a link to them. He linked the
linked
peaks.
them. Okay, yeah.
That's the trendy word for that.
And he was, I say first known person to ascend it because a lot of our history books is always the first white guy to do it. So
yeah, Native Americans, there's been 50 tribes who have been on this land, and I'm sure all of them have done it. In fact, you probably have to do it before you're like age of 6, before you're a man. So the first white guy was
Albert Bierstadt. And the National Forest Service website, because this is National Forest Service land, will tell you that Albert Bierstadt was the first to ascend it, or first documented individual to ascend it, and he named it after his soon-to-be wife, Rosalie. So it was actually initially Mount Rosalie.
Great name.
If you do a little bit more research, you find that it's not quite as simple or pretty of a picture. It was actually, Rosalie was another man's wife at the time, and he decided to name a mountain after her.
And then he eventually took her as his wife.
And then now, I guess, yeah, so
that'll probably become an HBO series at some point.
That's definitely going to be on Netflix at some point.
But the issue is the name. So I don't know how long in the future you're watching this, but it may not still be Mount Evans.
It may not be Mount Evans. So about 30 years after Bierstadt first ascended Mount Rosalie, it was renamed to Mount Evans after the second territorial governor of Colorado.
And this was early 1900s, I think?
And this was, either early 1900s or late 1800s. And that name is a little controversial because that governor actually ended up resigning due to his involvement in, I believe it was the Sandy Creek Massacre, which is the largest massacre of Native Americans in the United States. So rightly so, the name is kind of pending a change.
The pending name was Mount Blue Sky, which was submitted and approved, but not actually accepted yet because there's some other issue with that name because of potential cultural appropriation. So who cares? This is a sick mountain, and we're just going to drive it and not really care about the name.
But there's an interesting past.
Interesting past. So, speaking of history though, this is, unlike Pikes Peak, no rails on the side. I mean, that's a drop off.
Pretty exposed.
And you actually see a lot of people hugging or crossing the center line because they're terrified. So be mindful. Like if you're driving, genuinely watch the road. But this road was started construction in 1923, 100 years ago this summer. And then it was finished in 1931, so it took 8 years. And part of that's just because efficiency of the old-fashioned equipment, as we would say now. That equipment was just slow in general, plus the fact that it was high elevation, which makes any sort of naturally aspirated engines and stuff even worse. Yeah, a lot of traffic on this road, not usually because of a car being dumb. It's usually wildlife, especially, I won't even say this time of year. Every time I've been up this mountain, we've been stopped by goats, sheep, marmots, pika. But I do encourage you, if you're going with someone and neither of you have been, one person drive up, one person drive back. Then you can both enjoy the views. Of course, while we're stopped, we can enjoy it. But I'm gonna say we're getting kind of lucky with the weather right now. Every time I've been up here, it's rained. Well, I guess except for this morning, but every time
The afternoon
midday
showers,
the afternoon showers. We are fully exposed, being above tree line, which means lightning is
Real problem.
a safety risk.
Real problem.
So if you hear thunder, you just run.
Oh, there's a dude right here. Look at him.
Little bro.
When it comes to wildlife and human interaction, especially in areas like this, unfortunately, a lot of these animals are so bold because people will feed them.
Bad.
Don't feed them. As cute as they are and as much as you think you might be helping them out, there's an ecosystem that's going on without you in it that you were not intended to take part in.
I guarantee you're not handing them natural wild grass to this region.
Yeah, so there's a lot going on there, but don't feed them.
Feels like another planet.
Really does. This is the second alpine road Jordan and I have done together. The last one was in my Fiesta ST RIP.
Yeah, which is another video on the channel, not with the Fiesta, but me and Bennett did that for a video on this channel. Trail Ridge Road, which is the highest continuously paved
highway.
Well, I guess continuously paved road because it's a through road. This is just out, up and back. But Trail Ridge Road is a literal connecting road.
And it goes from the Grand Lake area, and it's just a road through Rocky Mountain National Park, and it spits you out in Estes.
Go watch the video.
Go watch the video. Just such incredible, incredible views.
Drink lots of water. You are at a high altitude.
Very high altitude.
Don't go anywhere without water. I mean, sunscreen. If you are Miata top down, the sun is much more intense at this high altitude. So I'm usually staying in second gear, sometimes third. It's all pretty low speed stuff, partially for safety because, yeah, literally drop-offs. But also like watch for wildlife and just road condition. Literally, I can't do this like any faster.
So we are approaching where we got to earlier. We're getting pretty close to Summit Lake.
Yeah, so Summit Lake is this the highest city park in the country?
This is the highest city park in the country. For some reason, this is a Denver city park.
Yeah, we're at 12,800 feet. And it is officially a Denver city park. So it is the highest city park in the country and the only city park in the entire country with no trees.
No trees. I would say before this, it's just bumpy.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of like really crazy undulation, no crazy like potholes. It's pretty good.
And they just do way more road maintenance below this point. In fact, that Accord almost caught air. So while there's nothing in the other lane, I will be doing some weaving.
We actually just did the Mount Goliath Nature Preserve that we already passed, and then the peak. I don't think it'd be frowned upon to just stop in for a second and say hi.
Yeah, get a picture, but to like stay there.
To stay there and hang out for a little while, definitely get a reservation. It's like $4 or $5 more to do. Reservations are so cheap to begin with that just get the one that you need. So there's actually a sign that we just passed that said September 5th, this area, this part of the road will not be open.
Yep. So this just gets snowed on and nothing else. Which is why I don't know how old this pavement is, but lots of recurring like freeze, thaw, freeze, thaw, freeze, thaw, just wreaks havoc on the road.
Good Lord. In all the research that we did, they definitely mentioned that quite a bit of the road maintenance is on this portion here, and they estimate that if no road maintenance was done, In a matter of probably a few short decades, this would be rubble.
I believe it.
If you aren't aware what the purpose of these poles are, is all these massive, like 10, 15 foot tall poles you see on the side of the road are to mark the road for when it's very, very snowy.
So the plows know roughly where to go.
It is a weird thing to like look directly left and see clouds.
Yeah. So another video I'll link if you want to check it out, if you want to get nerdy, is I took our parents up this road in a Rivian, kind of to see what the effect of this sort of super aggressive elevation gain and descent has on the efficiency, and it was quite fascinating. So check that video out.
That in front of us is exactly why when you hike at this elevation, you want to be done like before noon if possible.
Yep. I always say be descending from the summit by noon, because that's a typical rule of thumb, protects you from storms, but obviously pay attention to the nowcast.
If you are seeing this and inspired to take your Miata or your low car up the hill, be mindful that a lot of the pull-offs are not very low car friendly.
Yeah, we've seen like, I want to say 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 5.
Yeah. Probably dealing with like a, I don't know, 4 to 5 inch drop off the road on most of the pull-offs, and not paved, just gravel.
Leave a comment in the comments below. Let us know if you've been on this road or if you've been at or Pikes Peak. That was the first road me and Austin were up 13 years ago. And we've never seen our dad white knuckle a steering wheel of a Honda Odyssey so hard in my life.
I will say Pikes does have a lot of really exposed drops.
Yeah.
But they have guardrails.
And that was before it was fully paved.
And that was prior to it being fully paved. So as we are approaching the peak, you can see the little dome of the observatory peeking over. That was built in 1996.
Yeah, at the time it was the highest observatory in the world. Now it's third highest.
That's the third highest. So it's a little misleading, but you may think that you just get to drive up to the very tippy top of the mountain. That's how Pikes Peak is. You're actually driving to the peak.
You're driving to a parking lot, in this case, which is actually, fun fact, I think the highest parking lot in the States. A lot of records, ladies and gentlemen.
Just reaching for everything.
Yeah. But yeah, you can park and then you hike like a quarter mile to the actual peak. Given the conditions, I don't think we'll actually do that because lightning is a actual concern out here. Some people are upset at the reservation system. I'm honestly fine with it. Like, otherwise I could see this getting really randomly crowded, which could cause a actual safety concern. So good on them.
I think the reservation system, especially on the more tighter switchbacks and the more popular weekends, the amount of cars that we saw just turning around because I don't think they realized they needed a reservation and they drove up to the gate. It was a lot of cars.
Pretty wild.
You can already tell the parking lot is just an absolute madhouse.
Yep. And as I suspected, not a single sports car. The lowest thing I'm seeing is a Civic. All right, here's the top.
We made it.
Made it. A lot of Teslas, CUVs. Yeah, no sports cars. That's fine. We saw a Cayman earlier in a 911.
Cayman and a 911 up here this morning.
So usually there's a view right here, but we are literally like about to be engulfed by clouds. This is wild. Like I think we missed the view by minutes.
Yep.
But here's another view. It's the restaurant. So you might be thinking, why is there a restaurant up here and why is it not open? Well, it was built in, I think finished in 1941. Built by this guy who wanted to impress his girlfriend. Classic. Built her a castle in the sky. And yeah, it blew up. To expound on that, it was the highest building in the world when it was built. Also the highest business until its destruction in 1970 something. That's when, like I say, propane tank that wasn't expected properly or set up properly exploded, causing the entire thing to burn to the ground-ish. There's still ruins, but
still ruins.
Ruins.
It's really cool to see the weathering of this over the years.
Yeah, this is wild. You can tell they've made little repairs here and there. But this is really pretty wild.
Just under 50 degrees at the summit.
So this is the Denver University Observatory over there. There's all the rain coming, I think, so I think we better get off the mountain.
Yeah.
But good little cruise. Epic views, mostly. Right now, that's a bit
kind of a bummer.
Iffy, but yeah, right. So thanks so much for watching. This is really kind of the end. I know it feels kind of anticlimactic because there's clouds and stuff blocking our view, but there's that. We pretty much shared the entire history, probably more than you wanted to know, but you
very accurately shared the history.
We accurately shared facts, and it's good to know these things. But I highly recommend checking it out. You can do it in a Miata. Granted, we haven't gotten down yet, but it's getting windy, getting rainy, the storm's coming in. I recommend earlier in the day, honestly.
Sunrise is where it's at. Wake up at 5.
100% where it's at. That's what we've learned. Let's go home.